Hi guys, this is a video for people who are going to their driving test in a car that they've never driven before and they're like, I don't know how to do my manoeuvres anymore. I've got absolutely no idea. I've never sat in this car before. I don't know this car. I haven't got access to the car that I usually use, and my test is tomorrow and I've got no idea what I'm doing with this manoeuvre. Okay, so the reference points that I'm going to give you in this video will help you to some degree, and I think it will be good enough for you to be able to get in, or it will be good enough for you then to fix it. Okay, so if your driving instructors like taught you how to fix the manoeuvre, so they're going to be quite organic reference points, but you can use them if you've literally got your test tomorrow and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Driving instructors are going to give you specific reference points in their car because they want you to pass your driving test. We don't know if you're going to buy a 7-seater or a smart car. We want you to get your license. We want you to have as few driving lessons as possible, right? So you can get your license and then go off into the sunset and be free. Yeah. So we're going to give you reference points that we know work in these cars. Yeah. Now I know that some people are going to be like, yeah, but you know, you should be teaching it that you can park any car. Yeah, that's true. But what car are we trying to help you with? You're sat in this car. So we've got reference points for this car and we know that they are going to be perfect and we can dish them out. The reference points, like I say, that I'm about to give out, they're going to be like good enough. They're going to potentially get any car that you're driving, whether it's a Qashqai or a smart car or a Fiat 500 or an estate. It's going to be good enough for you to get in, and then hopefully you can at least get it in, and it may work totally first time, or you may have to use your 3 fixes because it's nearish but not quite good enough to get out. So it's a helpful video to you. Okay, let's start with the Bay Park. This video is to show you some one-size-fits-all reference points if you're suddenly faced with driving a brand new car on your driving test for some reason. And I don't want you to freak out, so I'm giving out these reference points for you. So the steering that you'd use at these new reference points in these videos will be the same as what you've learnt on your driving lessons when learning the manoeuvre for the first time with your driving instructor. Now, if you're trying to use this video to actually learn the entire manoeuvre and steering amounts, this isn't really the place for it. Go to my YouTube channel and go to my playlist Manoeuvres, where I go into great detail about how to do the steering for the manoeuvre. I only include a little bit of steering understanding in this. This is a reference point video only. Okay guys, so this is the straight method of the Bay Park. I'll talk about the 45-degree method in a minute, but I teach it like this because I think it's nice, because then people can overtake you if they haven't got any patience, basically. So I normally teach it in my car that my student looks out of the window, and then we put this line on a set reference point, which is around about halfway in the window. So they look out and they have this line pretty much in the middle of the window. But again, it depends on the size of the car. So, but what's really happening is this is Bay 1, this is 2, and this is 3. You're going into Bay 3. So the organic reference point that you can do is when the back of your car is cutting Bay 2 in half. Sorry, that's really bad drawing, isn't it? So basically you're making the back of your car cut this bay in half. And there might even be a car in there, that's okay. But the back of your car, if the car is parked perfectly, would be just in the middle of the car. So maybe if it's got a Ford symbol, you just put the line in the middle of that car, like that. And then there, you do all your normal checks and everything, just as normal. That's a given. And then you go into Bay 3. All right, so it's that. There. Okay, and of course it's just basically the same on the right. So if you're doing the straight method, you'd check everything, make sure it's really safe, and you'd do a swan neck. So you'd go on the wrong side of the road and you'd drive up, and then you'd position yourself on the right side of the road near the bays if it's safe to do so. And then you'd have the same reference point. So again, like I said before, I'd get my student to put this line on a reference point that always parks my car. But really what's happening is the back of the car here is cutting this bay in half, like that. So that's Bay 1, Bay 2, you're going into Bay 3. So the back of your car would be cutting this bay in half like that. And then you do all your usual checks and everything. And then you're going into Bay 3. So the organic reference point is back of the car.
in the center of that lane, back of the car in the center of that lane. Okay. So there we go. So organic reference points there. Okay, let's talk about the pulling in reference points. So when you're driving inwards into the bay, forward bay. Let me just put another bay up here actually. So when you're going into the bay, into the bay, so you're choosing this one, perhaps, going in there. The organic reference point is when you, the driver, are cutting this bay in half, like that. So your body is literally cutting the bay in half before, and then you're going to go in to that bay there. So you go forward and in. Okay, so that's another organic reference point that you can use if you haven't got one inside the car. And of course you might pull into the one on the left, so you need to do a swan neck first if you're doing the straight method. So check everything, make sure it's completely safe to do so. Swan neck, go away from the bay, so you're really far away from it. And then let's draw it, that's it. So you're going into this bay here. So your body, your actual physical human body needs to be cutting this bay in half like that. And then you can go in to that bay like that.
I'll just insert at this time as well that if you're doing the 45-degree method, okay, so because in my video, like I teach it the straight method basically, but if you want to do the 45 method, it depends on how like small you are. So again, these are why these are organic reference points. Okay, they're not completely set in stone because it depends on how tall you are. It depends on how short you are. Depends on the car that you're driving. But these reference points are okay-ish, you know, without a set reference point in the car that you're driving. So if you are a smaller person, then the line outside for the 45-degree method, as you look outside, the line outside of the bay that you're doing the maneuver on will probably go on your knees somewhere. It's on my knees. Okay, good. Check everything. Is it completely safe? Move to the right, yeah. And then that would be fast steering over to the right towards the other bays. And then you pause, you put it into reverse, yeah. Then you look to see if the line of the bay is pretty much in the corner of the left window, like that. Make sure it's there and pretty much keep it there with steering. So you check all the way around, very good observations. And as you go in, you're doing steering to try and keep that line in the corner of the window at the back, like that, okay? And you're trying to keep it there for as long as possible until it disappears. And then you start to look forward to see if you're straight. And that's when you steer straight at the very end. All right, guys, so that's if you're doing the 45-degree method.
Let's just say you've chosen this bay to work with. You drive up, and then when your human body, so you're driving up, I don't want to put the car in because it'll get really messy, so imagine the car going forward, 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 and then when you, the human, yeah, you're sat here. Now, depending on whether you're little or large, maybe your knees are going to be the same as that line, or maybe your human body is going to be the same as that line. When that happens, that's your reference point, and check apps, make sure it's flipping safe, yeah, but check your blind spot, because then you are going to really quickly drive over to the right, like over here, and then you're going to pause in the 45-degree method, like, before, don't go in the bays on the right, make sure that you're stopped outside of those. You go over to the right, so you're now here, and then you look around, and then basically, this is a poor drawing, but basically as you look at the back, you'll be able to see this line in the corner of your window there, and then as you go in, you want to use gentle steering or fast steering to the left, depending on the situation, to keep that line in the corner of the window as you go in. Make sure you look at the back, make sure that line stays in that reference point for as long as possible. Do any other observations that you feel that you should, over to the blind spot at certain times if you feel that like you haven't checked it for a while, to make sure that you're all safe and everything. This line will disappear at some stage, and then when you are completely straight, you then steer straight to enter the bay, like that. And of course, if you're doing the 45-degree method on that side, you would first of all have to swan neck, so you're on the wrong side of the road. I don't really see the point in this myself. Like if you've already swan necked on that side, just do the straight method, like, but it's up to you, like, whatever you want. Go over to the right and be straight. So just imagine the car again. So you go, let's just say you're parking in here. So you go straight. So you're going up, straight. And then when your human body is by the second line of the bay, yeah, so either depending on your height, like I said before, knees on the line, or if you're a taller person, maybe your actual physical body is on that, then quickly do your full check first, yeah, that goes without saying, hopefully check everywhere, make sure that you're totally safe to do so. Get that fast steering to the left, so you're really quickly going over there, and then check everything, make sure it's all right, and then keep that line, so you're going to be over there now, sorry, and then keep that line like visible over your shoulder. And this is probably going to be easier because as you look over the shoulder, you're going to be able to see that line physically by looking over your shoulder to the right blind spot. You're going to be able to see it.
as you go backwards, keep it visible so you can see the car going in like that. Yeah, that would be much easier if you were going to do it on that side. And then do all any safety checks that you can, but use the steering to the right in either fast or slow, depending on how that's staying in the correct place. Like, make sure that the car is going in, and then make sure that when you're straight, then you steer straight like that. But if you've already swan necked, I don't really see the point in doing the 45-degree method. You're already over there. So I think that the other method of the car halfway in there and then going into bay 3 is better, but that's just maybe my own personal opinion.
Let's move on to the parallel park now to give you an organic reference point that will park any car. So let's move on to that now. Okay guys, so when you're doing the parallel park exercise, just do it as you normally would, because all the reference points will be okay until you're doing this pull in bit. So when you're driving back in, your driving instructor could have given you a reference point to do with the small round mirror or the mirror on the left of the car. But what you're trying to do as you're sat there looking down, you're trying to match this part of the car to that part of the car as you're going back. So you'd go back a bit, looking out the back window as much as possible and checking everything, but go slowly, because if this driver was to turn now, this part of the car is only in the middle of there, right? So I suppose he could do it, but as long as the steering was slow, because that part of the car is not meeting that bit yet. So if it was there, he'd have to do slow steering to the right to get his car to come in. But he could take it right back until this part of the car matches that car. So he could just literally go back like that, and he goes ding, it meets that part. It literally is the same as the left part of his car there. So he's parked the back of the car, and then he would quickly do all of the steering to the right to get the front of his car to come in, which should give him a smaller gap between the two cars at the end. Because if he's doing it here and then doing slow steering, that could make the gap between it bigger. Not that that matters too much, by the way, because as long as you're within the 2 car lengths of space, you're going to pass. So it's got to be in that realm. But yeah, if you park the back of the car and it's exactly the same there, and then do fast steering, then you're more likely having a small gap there. All right, guys.